I have to tell the truth. I have been in remission for 4 years now, and they can't find it at the base of my brain at all.
Oh, thank God.
I haven't gotten sick not one time, and I was so scared to get COVID because I thought if I get COVID, I'm going to die. Every cold took me to the hospital. Just every sniffle, allergies, it would just build up, and I would get sick. But I have not been sick ever since I got a divorce.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the Mibo podcast. I am your host, Shanti Das, and as you can see, we are coming live to you outside of our normal studio. We are here live at the Johnson & Johnson's incredible powerhouse located on their dynamic headquarters in New Brunswick, New Jersey. For those of you that may not know, Johnson & Johnson has been a supporter of the Mibo show since day one, which was last year, and we are excited to bring the taping to one of its campuses. And what makes it even more fantastic is the vibrant audience of Johnson & Johnson employees that are joining us today. Now, if you're familiar with the Mibo Show podcast, you know that we use each episode to dive deep into various disease states, shedding light on personal experiences and exploring ways to prevent, detect, and advocate around it. And today is no exception. In our signature style, we will be delving into a disease state, gaining insight from our guests' lived experiences, and learning how we can all play a part in our own health journeys and really live the Mibo lifestyle. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about lung disease, sarcoidosis. For those who aren't familiar with sarcoidosis, it is an inflammatory disease characterized by formation of granulomas, or tiny clumps of inflammatory cells in one or more organs. What makes this disease especially significant to discuss is its disproportionate impact on African Americans, particularly women. According to the Foundation of Sarcoidosis Research, Black women in the U.S. are 3 times more likely to develop sarcoidosis than white women and white men. Moreover, they face 10 to 18 times higher hospitalization rate and a staggering 12 times higher mortality rate. The disparity highlights not only the urgency of understanding and addressing sarcoidosis, but also the broader issue of health disparities with marginalized communities. Today, we'll delve into the complexities of sarcoidosis, its impact, and how we can work towards better prevention, detection, and advocacy for those affected. Now, I would like to have my guests join me on the stage, and we will do introductions. So please come up, Miss Tisha Campbell. And also joining us, we have Nichelle Stigger.
Hello,
All right.
hello.
So first off, hailing from Newark, New Jersey.
Yes, baby, all day.
And that is so special. That's why I'm so glad that you were grateful and able to be here, because it's like almost being back home, right?
It is being back home. Absolutely.
So let me brag on you a little bit.
All
if I can do
right,
that.
Shanti.
Talk about your career. With a career spanning over 3 decades, Tisha has captivated audiences with her exceptional talent across film, television, and music. She began her career in the entertainment industry at a young age, appearing in television commercials before her breakthrough role as Gina Waters-Payne on the beloved sitcom Martin. Her comedic timing and charm alongside Martin Lawrence made the show a cultural phenomenon, solidifying her as a household name. And I gotta tell y'all, I met Tisha when I was 18 or 19 years old. Mm-hmm. This is a true story. Really quickly, give me 1 sec to share. I was an intern at Capitol Records. I was a sophomore at Syracuse University. And Tisha, for her singing career, was coming to Atlanta to do a promo tour. And so I see this itinerary sitting on one of my colleagues' desks, and I was like, being a little nosy, and I said, wait, Tisha Campbell's coming to Atlanta? I was like, can I tag along with you and shadow you? And he said, yeah, sure. You can help out and pass out some postcards or do whatever.
And I see this little thing with her hat to the back and her pants down real low. But she had so much gumption and she had so much drive. And I was immediately like, here, take my number. I want to be we became friends instantly, and she was like basically on the street team of my album.
Yeah.
But we became friends. She was in my wedding and all kinds of stuff. Like
So much so, literally 6 months later, you and your mom, and shout out to Mona, we love her mom. They
Hi,
flew me
Mommy.
to LA and said, spend spring break with us.
Yes,
That was only God, because you don't invite strangers.
right. Yeah. I'm glad you didn't kill us.
Yeah. So we've been friends ever since.
We have
So
been.
I love
Yes,
you.
I love you too.
All
very
right,
much.
let me finish this.
Go,
this
go.
incredible bio. Okay. She starred alongside Damon Wayans.
Oh,
in
it's
the,
still me?
It is still you.
Okay.
We're almost done. She starred alongside Damon Wayans in the hit sitcom My Wife and Kids, where her portrayal of Janet Cow earned her critical acclaim. In addition to her television success, Tisha has made her mark on the big screen with memorable roles in such films as House Party, Boomerang, which I still love your role there. Oh my God. And Sprung, displaying her range as an actress, earning a dedicated fan base along the way. Throughout her illustrious career, Tisha has garnered numerous accolades, including several NAACP awards for her outstanding performances in television and film. But perhaps most inspiring is Tisha's resilience in the face of adversity. In addition to her professional achievements, she has openly shared her journey with sarcoidosis, using her platform to raise awareness and advocate for others living with the chronic disease. Please welcome again my dear friend, Tisha Campbell.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all. Happy to be here.
And I am super excited about this next lady that I'm about to mention, and I'm truly humbled by your journey and your story, and just thank you for your work and your advocacy. So please welcome Nichelle Stigger, a passionate advocate. Yes, you can clap.
Hi, everybody.
Nichelle is a passionate advocate for equitable cancer care and survivorship. Nichelle is a board member of Longevity, a foundation firmly committed to making an immediate impact on increasing quality of life and survivorship of all people diagnosed with lung cancer by accelerating research into early detection and more effective treatments, as well as providing community support and education for all those affected by the disease. Her journey with lung cancer began in 2016 with a rare diagnosis and has driven her to educate, engage, and organize for change, advocating for equity within the lung cancer community. As an educator in Illinois, Nichelle not only fights for equality in cancer care, but also champions fairness in education. Johnson & Johnson has been collaborating with Nichelle since 2022. She is an advocate advisor and instructor for the BeLUNG Here digital advocacy program. Again, welcome, Nichelle.
Thank you, guys.
All right, ladies, let's get this going. I'm going to do my best impression of Oprah today. So, Tisha, I want to start with you.
Okay.
You were diagnosed in 2011 with stage 2 sarcoidosis. Can you take us back to the moment you found out and the overall experience of learning about
absolutely.
your diagnosis?
Actually, I was diagnosed in 2002.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was right after I had my son. My son was born in 2001. I was on the set of My Wife and Kids, actually. And I had this cold, what I assumed was a cold for a very long time. I had taken everything over the counter, under the behind the counter, not under the counter. Probably did some of that too. And I just could not breathe. It felt like an elephant was on my chest. And I remember being on the set of My Wife and Kids and asking, the ADs if they could call a doctor to come to the set because, at this point I know I have to have some type of like pneumonia or something because it's just not going away. And there was no COVID back then. So that's all I could assume was that it was the flu or pneumonia. And I was doing a scene and it's still on to this day. And it's hard for me to watch this scene. I had to sing Ease on Down the Road. And I could see after I finished the song, and you can see it too, because it's on television, that I was panicked in my eyes. I can see I'm panicked. I can't breathe, but I was continuing on with the scene. So finally I went to, I saw their set doctor. They gave me a bunch of medicine. That didn't work. Nothing worked. I started seeing these lesions on my neck.
Really?
And on my arms. And it wasn't a lot. It was just like almost like a little rash. And I was like, God, do I have wingworm now? What is going on? So I went to my lung doctor. I was like, I got pneumonia. You gotta send me to an X-ray. Get me an X-ray. He did. He sent me around the corner. I came back with my results. I waited for them. handed them to him. He went into the other room, came back. He playfully hit me on the head with a folder. He said, Campbell, what am I going to do with you? And I said, what? And I just saw, he was such a wonderful doctor and very playful, but he had a serious look in his eye. And he said, okay, I got to send you to a pulmonologist, a lung specialist. And I was like, why? He was like, he gets on the phone. He calls his secretary, tells her to get Dr. Wolf on the line. Dr. Wolf also saved, who was that? Serena, I believe, when she had a problem with her lung. Anyway, long story short, I said, well, what could it be? He says, well, it could be this valley flu that's been going around that you get in desert areas. I was like, okay, what else could it be? He was like, sarcoidosis. It's a big, excuse my language, pain in the ass, but you can live with it. But it's a pain in the ass and you can't let it get worse. And I was like, what else could it be? He was like, well, it could be lymphoma. And I was like, well, I kept this, whenever I'm pushed up against the wall, flight is not one of the things I first choose.
You fight.
Yeah. So
You've always been a fighter.
Yeah. I was like, okay, whatever I need to do. And I went downstairs and huffed downstairs and puffed downstairs. And I was eating this matzo ball soup. Yeah, whenever I'm sick, I eat matzo ball soup for some reason. And so I'm eating this matzo ball soup. I get to the doctor. He tells me he wants to take a piece of my lung, do surgery, like a biopsy. Little piece, just like no more than the top of a pin point. And I go in, I get a second opinion, but I go in with that doctor and they got the lung and they did the biopsy and I found out that I have sarcoidosis, stage 1. It was on both my lungs. It was also at the base of my brain. And my lymph nodes were swollen all over my body, but especially in my lung area. It was just on my right lung. Sorry, it wasn't on both my lungs. And he said, you have 4 stages. We can't let it get worse. And so I was on steroids for a long time. And you know how steroids do. They bloat you. They make you very, very, very sick in other ways, like with your insulin and all kinds of stuff. So I was pre-diabetic. It just kept getting worse. And so I started to sing at this, I had a restaurant in LA called Zen Lounge. It was named after my son. But the singing for some reason was exercising my lungs. And then, I got pregnant a second time, 8 years later, and 7 years later, sorry. And then I had another C-section. And when they opened me up again, I went to stage 4. So every time I had a C-section, it seemed like something would occur worse. So I went to stage 2. And there's only 4 stages, just like any other like cancer or lymphoma. And I had a chance to talk to Bernie Mac, who had stage 4 sarcoidosis. He had the worst kind. Like he was in between scenes, like getting oxygen, and I just didn't want to be that. And I knew that any type of stress adds on to any disease that you have. And I just started working out really hard, despite the fact that I could not breathe at all. Everything helped, but I believed, I'm sorry. I have to tell the truth. I have been in remission for 4 years now. And they can't find it at the base of my brain at all.
Oh, thank God.
I haven't gotten sick not one time. And I was so scared to get COVID because I thought, if I get COVID, I'm going to die. Every cold took me to the hospital. Just every sniffle. Allergies, it would just build up and I would get sick. But I have not been sick ever since I got a divorce. No harm.
Can I just give you a high five?
Thank you. But when you have any type of disorder or anything like that, now I'm not trying to talk badly about anybody. I swear to God I'm not, but I'm just telling y'all the freaking truth. Stress is a killer.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And it's connected to your body and stress.
Yeah.
And, you came up here and you talked about how, you wanted to combine mental health and our health. You've done such an amazing job. I have to say, she was talking about mental health for African Americans when it wasn't popular.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I am here to say that I am so proud of where I am in my mental health and my physical health now, because I understood that they are a combination. And whether you have any type of disorder, it's important to understand you got to do everything.
That's right.
And that's it. That's how it started for me.
I'm so proud of you. And, I just think back, just hearing what you were saying, the times I would come visit you and I would see where you were winded.
Yeah.
And you would just continue pushing and pushing. I know Danny can attest to this, and just push and push and push.
Yeah.
But to God be the glory.
To
Not
God
to
be the
impose my
glory.
faith on anybody,
No,
but
no,
just
yeah.
the
To God
fact
be the glory.
that
Yeah.
I'm just so happy that you're
Thank
here
you.
with me. I love you.
Thank you.
Nichelle.
Man, that really took me. Yeah. Thank you for sharing
No,
that.
thank you.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
As one that has been impacted by lung disease herself, specifically lung cancer, and as a board member of a foundation dedicated to lung disease and research, I know you've heard many stories like Tisha's before. And I believe I even read in your story how you had to advocate for yourself in the doctor's office just to get a proper diagnosis, which oftentimes people of color, we have to advocate for ourselves above and beyond. It seems that lung disease often goes unchecked, and then we find ourselves in grave situations. What are the steps that you would offer that people take to drive prevention or early detection when it comes to lung disease?
Yeah. Again, thank you for your story. It is so connected to me in so many ways that you may not even know. I'm actually going through a divorce right now. And so just hearing you say, shed the weight in so many ways to heal is so very powerful. But yes, lung cancer came to my door in 2017. Like you, I wasn't feeling well. Something was off and my body was telling me something. And I decided to listen to it. So I went to the emergency room. They do different tests. And then they do an x-ray. And that x-ray showed a nodule that was 3.5 centimeters. And then it was just like, okay, you've got a nodule in your lung. You'll be fine. And you'll follow up with your pulmonologist and go from there. And I'm thinking, this is a main vital organ. Like, this is not right. And everyone around me is like, you're going to be fine. You're young. I was 35 at the time. My son Parker was 3 years old. I was still nursing. I was still in the thick of mommyhood, if you will. And I just remember thinking in my head, I know this is cancer. I know this is cancer. There were no other ideas or thoughts in my mind. I went to see the pulmonologist, and I remember sitting in her office. She had this huge mahogany desk, and I was right out front. She had long blonde hair, and she had these glasses on, and she kind of looked at me like, you silly girl, why are you here? You're fine. And I'm telling her about my symptoms, so I have a little bit of a cough and a little bit of wheeze that felt like cotton in my chest. There's no other way to describe it, but and I would go up the stairs. At the time, I was actually just starting my education career. I'm a teacher. And I remember going, man, I need to start working out. I am out of shape, Having my child, having a C-section, that's probably what took me there. And I'm naming these things because once we share our stories, like your story, having a C-section and having all this exposure to different things, if we're not sharing our stories, then we don't know that we're not alone, but
That's
also that there's something going on. And if we collectively work together,
There's a connection.
Yeah. So you're blowing my mind. Even sitting here, I'm still learning more about my own disease, and which is why I do this advocacy work. But I went to the pulmonologist, and she said, we're just going to wait. We'll see you back in 6 months. And I was like, excuse my language, hell no, I'm not waiting. I have a 3-year-old. I just finished my master's in education. I'm a valued person. And I'm going to pause right there. So you talked about what are the steps? And I think the first step is owning who you are, knowing who you are as a human being, and knowing that you are a valued human being, and taking that with you, with your doctor, with your specialist, and saying, I know who I am. I know what my body is telling me. Here's what I need. because the doctor is there to serve you. And I think many times in our culture, and brown cultures, we think we have to listen to what the doctor is saying, right? That's the end all be all.
right.
It's not.
No.
You
Question everything.
question it all and have them question it, because they're not even thinking of the things that you were thinking about.
That's right.
And so she said, well, wait 6 months. And I said, no, I know my dad had cancer. I need a PET scan. And she was like, she literally pulled out a map and was like, well, really, we have to wait 6 months and then. And I was like, no, I'm not going on that map. You need to give me a PET scan. And so we literally argued back and forth for an hour. My husband at the time was like, just listen to her. And I was like looking at him like, no. But they wore me down, and I just ended up getting a regular CT scan. And unfortunately, with my type of cancer, it didn't show up on the CT scan. So it sort of validated the pulmonologist and saying, see, we'll wait 6 months. And so I was really backed up against the wall and inside my own head, because my doctor had said I was okay. I had to relay that message right to my family closest to me, my mom, my dad, my husband. And so they're like, trust the doctor. And I'm like, no. And so it turns into mental health issues. You're anxious. You're a hypochondriac. And in our culture, we're used to saying that as soon as something's wrong, oh, you're a hypochondriac. You're always this. Yeah. And it's changing that narrative to, one, allow us to listen to ourselves, but also hear our family members.
Absolutely.
They're telling us, really important things about what's going on in their bodies. But yeah, so I have adenocarcinoma mucinous, and just like you, they were like, well, we'll take you right in. Well, I should say 6 months later, obviously, right? It grew because I knew it was cancer. I had to go to that same pulmonologist, and I remember sitting behind, again, that same space, looking at her like, I could just jump over this table.
Right.
And it wasn't her fault. I understood that. I knew that. But I made sure she knew who I was. And one of the things that my dad taught me is, you humanize yourself. Yeah. And when I say that sometimes, I think that's a wonderful thing. And at the same time, why? Why do I need to humanize myself? Why do I need to come to this office where you're taking care of me, and I have to have the ace in my back pocket ready to go? But we have to. And so with this work that I do, I feel like I'm pulling people with me while I'm at this table so that we can advocate for those that don't have a voice, but more importantly, give them the voice, help lift up their own voices.
Can I piggyback off of that a little bit?
First, let me just say thank you for your resilience, your story, your fight, and your bravery.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. I just wanted to piggyback off of what she's saying. A lot of times, especially, I'm speaking to African-American women right now. That strong black woman trope that we carry on our backs, it turns into the angry black woman trope when you try to speak up for yourself. Yeah. And there are so many times where you're up against the wall when people are telling you, oh, you're fine. You think you're crazy at some point. But it's so important, no matter what, and whatever pressures that we have on us, and we know we have to acknowledge the tropes. Because people are going to categorize us, especially when we speak up for ourselves. I think it's really important to understand it and work around it and push through it and kick through it and speak up for yourselves and for your own mental health and physical health. Yeah.
And
which is what you did.
Yeah. And you can do it. And of course, it made me through this process really take care of myself and put myself in this bubble so that I couldn't listen to other people's ideas or thoughts on how they thought I should live this portion of my journey. And while at moments, me setting this boundary with my family was so tough without, building resentment, right? Because at one point I decided, well, I can only go to my oncology appointments with myself because the person I was trying to bring with myself in this fight needed to be there. And when other people are around you who are not willing to back you up in your fight, no matter what it is, right? They had to be left. And I was there on my own. And I did that because I want to be alive, but my son. And a lot of this work that I do is because of my son. My son, his name is Parker. And he has a severe disorder called hemophilia. And that's his life, right? It doesn't go away. I'm in remission like you. I'm cancer free, right? Which is an amazing thing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm missing part of my lung. You can't see that. They had to go in and remove that. I had 2 lung cancer surgeries. But I always think to my son, because in order for him to be okay, we have to replace his protein factor that allows his blood to clot. And so I think about him. He has to get a poke twice a month. He used to have to get it once a week. I think about, he plays basketball and baseball. I'm constantly holding my breath, right? But I want to give him all the opportunities that he can have as a Black male in this world, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm laying that groundwork, I feel like, for him. So when I'm not here, and let's say he's having issues, I can reach out to certain people and certain doctors and community members to say, hey, how can we, or he can reach out, right? How can we help?
And
Thank you again.
Yeah, I too have 2 sons.
Yeah.
One is on the spectrum. He's 22 years old. He went from being nonverbal to mouth almighty, tongue everlasting.
Yes.
And but both my sons are great, and I had the same consideration,
Yep.
which was what is going to happen to my son if something happens to me.
Yeah.
And I knew that I had to. When your back's against the wall and you're fighting for yourself, you have to. I just love what she said about getting people out of your way. Yeah. If they're not flying on the same plane, jump your
Yes.
off.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't care whether you have a parachute or not.
Right.
Because you have to put yourself and your family first.
Yeah. And that's the thing too.
Yeah.
Like, let's not wait till we have to actually put ourselves
That's
first,
right.
right? Like, part of this too is you don't need cancer or a deadly disease to start to think about you first.
That's right.
And what that
Look,
looks
they
like.
tell you when you're on the airplane, right? Before you can help anybody else, you got to pull
Put
the
that
mask
mask
down
on.
and help yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Ready for some more questions?
Sure, I'm sorry. We kind of took over.
Yeah, we
on
did.
the show.
No, but I love it because it's personal journeys, and
It
that's
is.
why we're here, right? This is about lived experiences, and you both have unique lived experiences, and I just appreciate you all for being resilient and advocating for yourselves. Yeah, and that's why you're here today on the Mibo Show.
Thank you.
All right, Tisha, my next question for you is, you are a leading lady in entertainment, and in order to lead, it requires physical and mental strength. How does living with sarcoidosis impact your career in the entertainment industry, and what strategies do you employ to manage your health while continuing to pursue success?
That's a really great question. I come from, I've been in this business for 52 years, and I know, wow, right?
Wow.
Since I was 3. Thanks, girl. She said I was going to say. And I grew up in a time where if you were pregnant, they would fire you.
Yeah.
Back in the day. You know what I'm saying? So I had kept the diagnosis for sarcoidosis a quiet secret that I kept to my, excuse the pun, chest. I just didn't want anybody to find out. I didn't want to be looked at as if it was a weakness or somebody couldn't hire me because they didn't know whether I was going to, not be able to breathe on their set.
Yeah.
And so I kept it as a guarded secret. And once Bernie passed away, I started talking about it more publicly. I felt like I could help more people because this particular disorder, and this is what the doctors have told me. So he said, when I first got the diagnosis, he said, Tisha, for some reason it affects African Americans and people of African descent way worse.
Yeah.
If a person of, any other color or, race were to get it. And he says, don't you have some white blood in you somewhere? I said,
What?
Doc, I'm way down the line, like great grandfather or something like that. He says, I'm not trying to say anything. It might help you because, when you get it, you're going to get it really badly. So I had to come to terms with that. and that I really wanted to help other people and other African American people, men and women, who could possibly get this disorder or this diagnosis.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for what you've done and for sharing your journey and being so transparent about it. I know you're saving lives.
Thank you.
Nichelle, I'd like to go back to you now.
Okay.
Lung disease can often be misunderstood. What are some common misconceptions that you've encountered? And what would you like people to understand better about those?
Yeah. So automatically, people go, oh, and they give me this confused look, you must have smoked. And no, if you have lungs, you can get lung cancer. And especially like those two huge barriers, smoking and being a Black woman, like already, smoking is a devalued, pastime that you do. So when you walk into that office already, there's that blame that you get. And so I would love to dispel that.
Yeah.
If you have lungs, you can get lung cancer with all the things that are going on in the world.
And I'm seeing so many people, to your point, be diagnosed with lung cancer that have never smoked a day in their life.
Right,
Yes.
that's really confusing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
most of my friends. And then also, it's been 7-8 years since I was diagnosed. And when I started, there weren't lots of targeted treatments. My specifically lung cancer only happens to 1% of people in the world. And so the basic treatment for that is first-line chemo. And then, I'm waiting for other targeted treatments to treat the cancer. But over the last 10 years, there's been so many advancements on targeted treatments for lung cancer that people are living in stage 4 for a very, very long time. And so when I first read the death rates for lung cancer, I was terrified. I was going to be dead, like, period. But I was staged at 2B. I caught it early because I pushed. And I really do believe I would not be alive today had I not pushed and had I had stage 4 lung cancer. A lot of times people get diagnoses and the doctor says, wait, and you may not even go to that second appointment, 6 months later.
Yeah.
So distilling or taking away that if you get lung cancer, right, that you're going to die, and that's not it.
We're going to live.
There's lots of treatment. You're going to live, and you're going to live a good life.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Tisha, have you made any lifestyle changes or adopted specific coping mechanisms to manage your lung disease effectively? And if so, what has worked well for you?
Really understanding the entire body, especially the nervous system as it pertains to stress.
Okay.
I've been working along with my therapist on different ways, different lifestyle changes, and really paying attention to the nervous system or the senses. I have been, it's something as simple as creating the environment that I'd want to be in that keeps me calm. And it could be playing spa music while I'm washing the dishes. It could be going to the store and getting that one piece of chocolate, not the whole thing, but that one piece of chocolate.
Yeah.
Something that makes me happy. My whole lifestyle and my whole life has changed. I'm living for me.
Yes.
With the whatever type of exercise I incorporate and all of those things, I think it's really important to live for you.
Absolutely. You know what? One thing I love about
Oh, can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I'm not trying to advocate divorce. I love love. I want to be clear. Honestly, I swear to you, I love love. I love being in love. I love that when people are in love. And I love how partners can partner up and work together. It just happened to work this way in my life.
Yep.
So I want to say that. Go ahead. You were going to say.
No, I was.
I got to be clear.
I had to laugh a little bit.
Love and marriage, two different things.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I was just going to say, like, the one thing I've always loved about you is, like, your infectious personality and laughter. And it seems like you use that also as a place of a point of self-care and wellness.
I use it as self-care. I use it as my sword and my shield.
Y'all, she is a hoot to be around. Let me just tell you. Never a dull moment.
Never.
Thanks, T.
Thank you.
Nichelle, as an advocate for health awareness, what steps do you take to raise awareness about lung disease and advocate for better support and resources for patients?
Yes. So any and everywhere that I can. I'm actually working with on a project called BeLUNG, and I am a patient advisor here with Johnson & Johnson. And we just had our first talk, and it was amazing. I had other patients there and their experiences, and I had an opportunity to walk through my journey, but also keep pushing to live this narrative that is authentic. And I go back to Audre Lorde, always talking about listening to your truth, living your truth, and your truth in self-care and all of these things, they're not always going to look like a spa or something happy. It's going to be work. And once you get to the other side of that work, right, you get to look back and say, I went through the dark and I decided not to, go through the light,
It's
but I went through the
beautiful
dark.
devastation.
Yes.
Because
I love
on the
that.
other side, there's so much light and so much love and so much more you can give.
Yes.
And you feel amazing when you put yourself first and your health first.
And along the way, you are picking up those pieces of adversity, right? And they turn into golden nuggets.
Absolutely.
That's like your power, that's your energy, because that adversity is going to teach you so much. What did I do in this situation? How did I get there? And I don't know about you, but even sometimes I'm like, man, I want to be my best self. And that best self was that person who was going through cancer in the thick of it.
Yeah.
I want to pull that person
Absolutely.
out
Yes.
always.
Absolutely, absolutely. I didn't know my own strength until I had, been put in that position. And it wasn't an easy road. Like even when I had my biopsy, where they took a piece of lung, he had told me there's like a 10% chance, 2% chance. It was 2%. It's a 2% chance that your lung will collapse. Well, on my way home from the hospital, I was doggone matzo ball soup. I was eating some matzo ball soup on the way home, and my lung collapsed. I started turning blue. My mother had driven me to the hospital, and her husband, her then husband at the time, they made a U-turn. They had to drive me back over the hill to the same hospital. And I thought at some point I had passed out, but she said I never passed out, but I don't remember anything. I just remember her screaming. I remember her voice. And I remember being thrown onto a gurney, and I said, God, there's a spear in my chest. Does anybody see the spear in my head? This is what I'm saying. There's some kind of spear. Would they please take the spear out before they throw me on top of this gurney? And it was like Grey's Anatomy, stat. And I was like, who are they statting about? It can't be me.
Right.
It can't be me.
Right.
And I couldn't breathe. The pain was so bad. And I went they got me into a room, and he goes, Miss Campbell, have you eaten anything? And I was like, and my mother said, matzo ball soup. And then he said, I'm so sorry. I can't do the surgery with anesthesia. I have to put this.
Oh
yes.
my gosh.
I'm going to have to put this tube and jam it into your lungs. And I'm so sorry, because the whole room stopped when they heard that, right? And then they just started scrambling even harder. So then I feel this pain. I was like, is that a scalpel? Right? So in my mind, I'm like, this can't be happening. I couldn't talk. I couldn't breathe, nothing. And so I feel him pow, 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 jamming this between my rib cage because they had to get air to my lung. And then all of a sudden I felt air. I was like, oh, I can breathe. And so I think when I woke up, all I can move was my eyes. I was like, did they induce, a plaque? Right. I can't move. And there were 3 nurses. 2 of them started walking out the door, and I was like, oh no, I got to tell somebody I'm in pain, but I can't move. So I was talking to I was like, I've seen, what's that, Kill Bill? Move your toe.
Yes, where she's move your big toe.
Move your toe, right? My toe wouldn't move. I was like, excuse me, I'm gonna just tell y'all the truth. I cursed. So then I was like, move your finger. So my finger jumps, and then my toe moves. I was like, you toe. Okay, if I could do that, I can talk. And so I was like, so now I could see the other woman. She was African-American, beautiful, stout, but I could see she was about to leave. And so I'm like, oh, I gotta talk to this nurse. I gotta tell her, I'm in pain. I need help. I need medicine. But nothing would come out. Again, I was like, okay, you gotta say something. Say help. Just one word. And I heard myself go, no. Right? She turns around, rolls her eyes and said, yes, and walked out the door. I said, no. I shot my wad. And so I just knew, I was like, I'm gonna be in this pain for a second. Let me just close my eyes. And that was the worst pain that I think that I've ever been through. Because it was incredible.
And we're laughing about it.
No, we are laughing about it because
yes.
I shot my wad. Yeah. My tongue was moving. It wasn't cooperating. My mouth wasn't moving. So, we should, we find that's the only way that I could get through it is laughter and never eating matzo ball soup again.
Oh, right. I was going to ask.
Thank you for sharing that story. And, we've heard some incredible stories from these two women. And what comes to mind for me as I think about the health journey, I have the 3 G's that I live by now: grit, grace, and gratitude. You got to have grit. You have to have, both of these women exemplified courage and strength through their journeys of lung cancer, sarcoidosis, grace, because they, sometimes you might have fallen short, right?
Yeah.
But you forgive yourself and you give yourself that grace that you need to get through this incredibly tough journey. You give yourself permission to heal and to feel. And then gratitude through the journey. Yeah. Being grateful for your family, for your kids, for what you've gone through, for the people
beautiful
that are
devastation.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. And finding peace in the journey. So that's just something I believe in, and I hope that you all will take with you is grit, grace, and gratitude on your health journey.
And give yourselves grace that people don't give us.
Absolutely.
As African Americans, give yourselves the grace.
Absolutely. All right, so we only have a few more questions, and then we're going to open up for some quick Q&A. Are we still doing okay, Janelle and Mark? Okay, all right. ALC, y'all still with us? Yes, you enjoying the conversation? All right, you're a phenomenal audience, so thank you for being here. So Tisha, one of the final questions. Congratulations again on all that you've accomplished. I've literally watched you for 30 years plus do your thing. And, obviously you are one of our iconic actors of our time. And I say actor, not just actors. You are an incredible actor.
Thank you.
And I'm so very proud of you, an entertainer. And I just got to ask, what's coming up? TV, film, music, anything?
Well, I've been working behind the scenes a lot, which is something that I've always wanted to do during the COVID isolation. It was the first time that I didn't have anybody in my ear telling me what I could or could not do, what I could or could not be, what I could or could not wish for. And so for the very first time, I started writing, which is something I've always wanted to do since I was a little girl. And
writing music?
No. Well, I've always written music.
Okay.
I've always written music. Okay. And my producing, one of my partners is sitting over there. She's the head of You Go Girl. She's head of creative over there. And so we just started, hi Danny, Danny right over there. And so we just started writing a lot of things, and I started selling shows. And so now I'm producing and writing. I'll probably never be a director because I don't really like actors that much. Like that. I'm joking, actors. But I really do love being a producer and a writer. Fantastic. And so that's what I've been up to as of late. Yeah.
I love that. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And we'll be listening out so we can support. Yes, you can clap for that. Nichelle, I want to ask you, look into the future. What are your hopes and goals in terms of managing your lung disease and raising awareness about it? And you're just such a fearless leader out here. And so many of us are so proud of you. And I'm excited to be able to amplify your voice and your story through the Mibo Show.
I have to say, one, thank you so much for having me, and to be able to sit by an icon who I'm like having flashbacks of like watching Martin in my house when I was like 10, and my mom being like, what are you watching? And I'm like, this episode. And like, to be sitting next to you, I was like, oh my God, how am I supposed to like be normal right now? And I'm gonna tell my story. Like what in the, like, and then it's like, you think you know them because you've seen them your entire life. And it's like, wait a minute.
It's okay, girl, I'm just a Jersey girl.
So thank you so much.
I'm just a Jersey girl.
But so my hopes and my dreams are to, like you, I want to write my story. I want my huge inspiration is Audre Lorde. She has this book about her cancer experience, and it's her philosophizing and these wonderful quotes that you can take with you, but it's the truth about what life is. And a lot of times we forget to talk about why we're here, and why we're here is not just, these diseases, but it's also our fear of death. And I'm gonna just let that land. Because a lot of times what we do is we don't talk about death. And death is so important because it's a part of our life, the most important part. And so it acts as a battery for you to live your life in the present, is the way that you look at it and have that relationship. So that's what I hope to do, is create something where I'm, whether it's a book or I'm telling my story, to where we're bringing this power and that energy in, and to embrace these things that scare us, so that in the present we are really living our happiest, our best, our joy, right?
Yes.
R.I.P. Rest in present.
Yes.
In present.
Nice way to thread that back. Thank you so much, Nichelle. Tisha, I'll ask you the same question. What are your hopes and goals in terms of managing your lung disease and raising awareness about it?
Just creating a positive, healthy environment that my kids could look at me and emulate, to continue to do everything that I can, keep up with my doctor's appointments, keep up with all of those things, just making sure that I'm okay so that I could be here for my kids.
Absolutely. I love that. And the final question is something that we do fun on the Mibo show that we like to ask our guests on season 2. So I'll start with you, Nichelle. What song stimulates your mind, M-I, and what song soothes your body, B-O, for Mibo?
Okay, this is so cliche, but not. Beyonce is a little bit older than me. I'm 42. And so we had our babies around the same time. I feel like her life trajectory is like very similar to mine, and mindset. Like this is me in my head, my little bubble, right? So don't judge me. So I am always having Beyonce on in the background, and it's calming and it's exciting. But while I was going through my journey, the song that my son and I listened to, and it's the only thing that I could really do without, because every time I looked at him, during that 6 months, I was a wreck. That was actually the worst part of my diagnosis, was waiting. And I would just look at his like cute little face, and he was chunky monkey, and like bawl my eyes out. But there's a musical that was out, and goodness, her name, I can't even think of the name, but I would just listen to the song over and over, and we'd dance and we'd sing to it. And like, that's what kept me going. That's what kept me present at that moment, not going too far. If I was going to see kindergarten, if I was going to see, him going to middle school, all of these things. He just celebrated his 10th birthday, and that's a huge milestone for me.
Yes. Thank you. Tisha, what song stimulates your
I knew you was
mind?
gonna ask me that
Of
question.
course. And what song soothes your body?
I don't know what song stimulates my mind. It's anything. I love
Or an
Afro
artist.
beats.
Or an artist.
No, I just love Afro beats,
Okay,
and I'll turn
yeah.
on Tiwa Savage, and she's the one who gets me, up in the morning and cleaning and all the things that I love to do. I have OCD. So she's the person I turn on.
I love that.
Yeah, I love Tiwa Savage. And then what was the second?
What song soothes your body?
Any type of spa music, anything soft. I always put on Imagine Me. I put that song on a lot.
What'd you say?
Nothing, girl. Kirk Franklin.
hit a
Kirk
note?
Franklin's Imagine Me. I will put
that's
that
a great-
on
that's
all
a
the
great-
time.
yes,
And
I
that's
love
the
that.
song that
Yes.
makes me,
I love that.
inspires me.
Mary stimulates my mind in a lot of ways. I'm a very spiritual person, and I love them. And Lenny Kravitz, I Want to Get Away, because I love to travel. And with me,
What you look at me for?
What? I mean, I don't know. I heard you say something like when you were a teenager, you might have dated him or something. I don't know.
She sure did look at me. So like,
Recently. Okay, I've been wanting to say this all my life, and I'm your friend. Damn, Gina. But I try not to ever talk about your career, because I consider you my bestie. But
I
damn,
swear to
Gina.
God, she's never said that to me.
But I say it to all my friends. So
No,
they
it's
all
okay.
know it.
My son calls me Gina. I just answer because I be tired. He gonna answer.
I love you.
I love that.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in to today's powerful episode. I want to thank Johnson & Johnson for their continued support. Thank you, Tisha. Thank you, Nichelle. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and share the Mibo podcast. As I mentioned, y'all, season 1, we have an incredible season 1 with like MC Light and Yo-Yo and so many others. Please, binge, watch, and listen to the Mibo show. It's available on YouTube and all podcast platforms.